Welcome to Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. Our first Reddit post is from Carbon Land Rover. Block my driveway, I'll go ahead and take your vehicles. Friday night here in the country can get a little crazy sometimes, so I don't mind when my neighbors cause a ruckus or loud party, as long as it's not too crazy. Tonight I'm on call for Virginia State Police towing rotation, which means I've got 25 minutes to get to wherever the recto impoundits is. As luck would have it, my neighbors are having a party, and guess what's blocking my driveway? That's right, about 25-30 cars. I live down a dirt road at the end of a cul-de-sac, and it's pretty narrow. One in, one out type of deal, and with this rain we've been having, parking in the grassland is really not the best idea. Even with a forks for it can still get tricky. I noticed a few cars coming in early this evening and walked over to my neighbors and made it pretty clear I was on call, and as long as they didn't block the road or my driveway, all would be good. No problems here. Well, I get a call from my boss asking if I can go warm up the rotator and the light-duty flatbed tow trucks. It's about 12:30, so I get my boots on and other gear, because if I'm up I might as well stay at the shop and clean a few things to stay busy and make the night move along. I get in my car, and as I'm backing out of the driveway, I notice I'm blocked in. I don't mean by one truck, but by nearly 15 different vehicles. I calmly walk over to my neighbors, about an 18th mile hike, and as I'm looking for them through the crowd of drunk teenagers, some idiot wants to know why I'm on his property. He's not the property owner. I've never seen this classy gentleman. Finally, I find my neighbor and ask her if she can move the cars. I've got to go to work. She says in a normal tone, doesn't yell over the music into the house, whoever's blocking the driveway next door, move your trucks, then slams the door in my face. I knock again, and she answers with a drunken, "Oh God, this bitch again." Internally, I'm thinking, all right, then I do my best to explain I'm on call and need to get out of my driveway to go to work. She comes back sloshing a natural light, shuts the door in my face, and yells, "Fuck that dyke cunt." I smile, and as I'm walking away, Macho Man throws a beer at me and cackles, "Yeah, you best leave, go on, git." I get on the phone with dispatch and call for as many trucks as we have available tonight, about 10, and tell them to come on over. Mama's got some piece private property in pounds. I call police dispatch and ask if they'd send out an officer in case things get out of hand, and as soon as he gets to my place, my rigs start rolling up and hooking vehicles up and taking. We get down to the last three vehicles: a yellow Civic, gold Silverado, and an old phone 150. The Civic owner bolts to his car and takes off. The Silverado girl, pretty wasted, gets stuck and starts tearing up my property. Officer walks over and she throws a fit. Long story short, she gets arrested for underage drinking and DUI. The Ford owner doesn't show up. I get to work after all the impounds, and with me I brought coffees and snacks for my drivers. Tomorrow's not a business day, which means if these tools want their cars back, it's going to be the regular $289. 50 plus 2 days of storage at $55 a day, and a 100 gate fee. I make a note in every single storage sheet. Several of the kids' parents called wanting to know where their cars or trucks were. I gave them the yard address and told them they can come anytime. As soon as they started shouting about illegal tows and threatened with lawyers, I showed them pictures of their cars with no parking signs and explained that I tried to reason with the owner of the property, but she was tired of being blocked in by drunken teenagers. There are signs on my road saying no parking and not to block the driveway. Don't piss off a tow truck driver. She'll legally take your vehicles. Edit: the gate fee is only for after hours. It covers expenses of overtime for the office staff who have to get out of bed and come to work in the middle of the night. Also, how do I sleep at night with a glass of chocolate milk while reading Res Credit? This comment is from Godless Life. Awesome. Fuck drunk, inconsiderate teenagers, people. This comment is from 0 Point Corp. To the people ITT complaining about the cars getting towed, etc. "I don't know where you're from, but where I come from this shit," she says, in a normal tone, doesn't yell over the music into the house. "Whoever's blocking the driveway next door, move your trucks," then slams the door in my face, shuts the door in my face and yells, "Fuck. That dyke cunt macho man," throws a beer at me and cackles, "Yeah, you best leave, go on git," is absolutely fucking unacceptable behavior. If you think that's just a normal way to act, you probably deserve to get your car towed too. This comment is from Skr. I think that's a form of rape. Now, a word from today's sponsor. Surfshark is an all-around VPN solution that can do everything from torrenting as well as streaming to browsing the dark web. Surfshark is one of the very best all-round VPN, terrific for Netflix, torrenting, confidential browsing, as well as staying safe on public Wi-Fi. Check out Surfshark today, link is in the description. Now back to the video. Our next Reddit post is from Falzeric9. Racist boss harassed Puerto Rican employees and broke labor laws. Ended up getting deported. I worked at a fairly well-known restaurant in a small, northern New England city as an assistant manager. The owners were very successful restaurateurs with several successful non-chain establishments and spent maybe a day or two a month in our location. The rest of the time, there was a general manager in charge. We'll call her Jan. Jan was about as type as they come. She was a middle-aged woman, but beautiful and petite, and she always looked put together and primped. Jan had started with the owners a decade earlier in their first restaurant as a server and had worked her way up to general manager over the years. At first, I just thought she had extremely high standards, which I respected. I have high standards as well and take pride in my work. I had been impressed by how the kitchens were spotless. The staff was immaculate, like run a white gloved hand under the back of the oven, and it comes back white kind of clean, and the food was always top quality. I had frequently been a customer and was thrilled that I got the job there. I had been in the business for a decade, and that restaurant was the place in our area. I was so excited. Unfortunately, I quickly learned why everything is so shining and perfect. Jan was a tyrant. She was the kind of boss who soured the mood of the entire staff like a storm cloud hovering over us that never went away. Nothing was ever good enough, and the standards changed from day to day. On a good day, she would shut herself up in the office and then leave early. Good days were very rare and could turn into bad days at the drop of a dime. On bad days, you couldn't be perfect enough, and she would come up with new rules and regulations just to punish people. If a host called out sick, they were literal children. If a cook made a mistake on a plate, she would humiliate them in front of the staff, accuse them of doing it on purpose, and then give us all the silent treatment for hours after. Seriously. If someone's cash out was off, as a fellow manager, I was mostly spared her awful behavior, though I had to hear about her treatment from my staff almost every day. All of this was just run-of-the-mill bad boss stuff, until it came time for our yearly staff evaluation meetings. This is where Raul enters the story. Raul was a hard-working dishwasher who had moved to our state from Puerto Rico a few years earlier and spoke English with some difficulty. Whenever I had to go over anything official with him, Jan refused this courtesy to Raul. This made his evaluation pretty difficult. Raul managed to communicate to us that due to recent cuts in his hours, he would be forced to get a second job to pay the bills. Something about this absolutely set Jan off. She told him she would fire him if he dared. I could see plainly on the intake paperwork in front of me that Raul had been hired with the understanding that it would be a full-time position, so I pointed that out. Jan was furious, but agreed through gritted teeth that if Raul agreed not to get a second job, it was stated as clear as day, and I documented it in my daily manager logbook. Work went on as usual after that, and I didn't think much of this meeting again for a few months. Another time, a while later, while filing out information for tax returns, Jan called me into the office. I could tell she had pulled the tiny room apart looking for something. All the information about our Puerto Rican employees is gone." She told me with a mixture of panic and suspicion. I looked at the files in question, and they all seemed to be in order, so I was confused and told her I couldn't help. A few minutes later, I walked back in the office to find her arguing with Rosa, our most talented chef, and a Puerto Rican native. Rosa was perfectly fluent in English. Nu ruso. Jan was speaking to Rosa as though she were hard of hearing or mentally slow. "Where is your green card? What are you talking about?" Rosa was confused. "Are you an illegal or something? Is that why one of you broke in here to hide the proof?" Jan wasn't yelling, but her eyes were cold and flashing with rage. "What?" Rosa was starting to get angry now. It suddenly clicked for me, so I interrupted. "Jan, you do realize that Puerto Rico is a United States territory, right?" "Of course, I know that." Jan snapped back. "Okay, so you know that Rosa has a social security number like any other American native." "Oh, right. Never mind, Rosa, you can go back to work." Jan did not apologize for accusing Rosa of theft. I was so done with this place after that. Jan did all kinds of little things like that, and she never apologized. I had already gotten a job offer for a place closer to my house when the final straw came. I was the closing manager one day and got in just before the dinner rush to see Roll storming out the back door. He didn't speak much English, but his fucking bitch was very clear. Jan had lied about raising his hours to 35 per week, so Roll had gotten the second job he talked about. When Jan found out, she fired him, but not before saying something about how all you illegals are the same. She was really fixated on these American citizens being illegal aliens for some reason. By this point, I fucking hated this woman too. She once told me my clothing made me look poor in front of the whole staff. I was wearing what she made me wear. Meanwhile, she wore open-toed shoes behind the line, which is against the health codes, and once her fake nail fell off into the coleslaw, and she wouldn't let anyone toss it out after she retrieved it. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but I have a life to live. Since I knew I would be leaving soon anyway, I told Roll he should go after our boss for wrongful termination, that he had been promised more hours, and that Jan had broken the agreement, not Roll. The last time I saw Jan was on my way out of Raul's lawyer's office after giving a deposition about several labor laws she had violated, at least the ones that I knew about. Apparently, there were many others she had broken in front of other employees. She couldn't even look me in the eye. The best part, at my deposition, I learned that Jan was actually the one who was illegally in the country. Her green card had recently expired. She was Canadian. She ended up being sent back to Canada as a result of this case, and no one has heard from her since. Raul was granted 6 months of unemployment pay, plus the restaurant had to pay his legal fees. They closed that location not long after. Maybe they should hire their managers more carefully next time. Jan, if you are reading this, I hope you got your shit together. I also hope you learned to wear closed-toe shoes behind the line. You wouldn't want to end up a huge, gigantic fuck-up due to your own negligence, now would you? This comment is from Coladiola. I'd just like to say we didn't want her back. A Canadian. This comment is from Cheryl Zaram. I'd also like to add Jan get fucked but another Canadian. This comment is from Babs Out. We had a Lyft driver once go off on the dirty Puerto Ricans and how insulted she was. They were applying for emergency funding from the hurricanes like Fire Americans or something. Hubby and I gave her a severe dressing down. That was Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. If you like this content, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified of new uploads. We upload new videos every day. Also subscribe to our Patreon, as that will help us a lot. See you next time.